Hey YouTube, I'm Babblerab, and welcome to a series that is probably going to have its title changed a crap ton of times. So the Ace Combat franchise is my favorite franchise of all time, without a doubt. The first game that I got was actually Ace Combat Zero: The Balkan War, and I remember getting it back when Blockbuster was still a thing. Yeah, I renewed that game at least probably more than 2 or 3 times sequentially after getting it for the very first time. I was having that much fun with it. I was awful with the controls. I played on very easy difficulty, and I definitely did not use the advanced controls because I sucked, but I don't suck as much now, so that's good. But this isn't a video about the first time that I went and played an Ace Combat game. Maybe that'll be somewhere down the road, but we're here to look at every single mission in Ace Combat 7 Skies Unknown and judge them. So with that in mind, let's talk about the game overall. This is actually pretty simple. Ace Combat 7 is a perfect game without any flaws whatsoever. It actually kind of begs the question as to why I'm making a video series about all the levels in Ace Combat 7 in general. Right, JPEG dog?
Jerk.
Being completely honest here, the only game that one can truly call being the perfect video game that has absolutely zero flaws whatsoever is obviously Ace Combat Assault Horizon. Like, even Ace Combat Zero, the very first game, the one that we'll always love above all other Ace Combat games, still has problems. Now, that being said, one can put most of these problems down to a wonderful little level that I'm going to describe without naming. You can take a wild guess as to which one it might be. It's got a 30-minute time limit, it's got friggin' PJ, you gotta shoot a bunch of stuff and they're all sparsely laid out. It's not like the friggin' Gladystant level where you get the big cool targets like the control tower. Why the heck am I still playing this level? Did I mention this level's long? It's really boring. Oh, and PJ's there too. Oh, I said that already? Okay, great. Okay, quickly to get this back on track before I go on a huge tangent about why I hate lying and deceit. I mean, what? The main reason why I'm making this video is because I wanted to take a detailed-ish. Is that a word? Hold on. Checking. Is a resounding yes, but also no. Let's use it anyway. A detailed-ish look at every single level in Ace Combat 7 and then judge them based on 5 categories that I came up with. The 5 categories in question are the soundtrack of the level, the objectives and the failure conditions, namely how easy they are to achieve, how luck-based they are. I shouldn't be going into this much detail. Next, the types of enemies, the length of the mission, and the degree of BS. Each of these categories are going to be explained in greater detail later on in the video. So let's just jump to the first level of Ace Combat 7, Charge Assault. Okay, so what is there to say about Charge Assault? Well, it's actually a pretty decent tutorial level. That's assuming that you don't have somebody who's going and messing around to try to figure out what they can and can't get away with for the sake of research. I suppose now would probably not be an awful time to go and explain how the actual scoring system works. So each of the categories is going to be scored out of 5. Given that there's a total of 5 categories, one of which can be negative, the absolute highest score that a category can receive is going to be like a 20 out of 20. Your degree of BS will take away from your final score, and then if there's something particularly special about the level, it will receive up to 5 bonus points. So the first category that we're going to be examining is going to be the soundtrack. When giving a score for the soundtrack of each mission, I was predominantly looking at how well the song fit into the actual mission, as well as how much I actually just enjoyed the song personally. In a lot of cases, there's been particularly good Ace Combat soundtracks that I would go and just listen to on my own time without any accompanying gameplay. If one was to give a 5 out of 5 for a particular theme of a mission, it would either be a case where the song by itself is really, really good, or it fits the level perfectly. A score of 0 in this category would basically indicate that the removal of the song would actually benefit the level altogether. In other words, the song is so out of place or just so terrible that it's annoying or unpleasant to listen to. Luckily, the soundtracks within the Ace Combat franchise are typically one of the high points of the franchise as a whole. So a really bad soundtrack is extremely unlikely to be in any of the games. So how good is the soundtrack in Charge Assault? Honestly, it's probably one of the stronger soundtracks in the base game. I would even go as far as to say that it's only beaten out by Glacial Skies as one of the best intro soundtracks in every Ace Combat game I've ever played. So in terms of the soundtrack, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. So now we're moving on to mission length. Mission length is really determined by how long the mission is, actually. Yeah, there's not too much really to say there. If the mission's too short, you're obviously not going to have as much fun with it. Or if it's too long, then you're going to get tired of it. That's really about it. So for the mission length for Charge Assault, I've given it a 3 out of 5. I actually wrote it's fine. It could be a bit longer. Pretty certain I put the it could be a bit longer because it's fine. Doesn't give me nearly enough information. But yeah, 3 out of 5. That's really all there is to say about it. The next category is going to be types of enemies. Maybe the more accurate way to put it would be variety of targets. Quick and easy example of this would be 40 AA guns, that's the entire mission, versus a plethora of different things. AA guns, SAM turrets, variety of different fighters, a segment maybe where you've got to go after some bombers, submarines with railguns on them. Totally not alluding to the Alicorn there, I just played Project Wingman recently. Maybe like mounted railguns. You get the idea. I need to also include the amount of threat that each of the enemies poses to the players, as well as their general distribution. One thing that really sets Glacial Skies apart from Charge Assault is the enemy distribution. Glacial Skies throws the entire bomber squadron at you all at once, whereas Charge Assault, they spawn in at different stages depending on the amount that you take out. There is absolutely nothing stopping you from flying all the way to the back of the entire squadron of enemy bombers and shooting them down from behind. Versus in Charge Assault, you're forced to take out that first lone bomber and then move on to the next group and then the next group and then the next group. Additionally, in terms of threat to the player, in Charge Assault, the enemies are mostly pacified to the point that they're unlikely to shoot missiles at you and be a general danger to the player. With Glacial Skies, I did get shot down a handful of times because I was just not paying attention. I don't really feel as though the same danger exists in Charge Assault. So how many different types of enemies do they give you in Charge Assault? 3. Those consist of MiG-21s with varying degrees of aggression, Tu-95s. Now they typically have a tail gun, which will shoot at you. Yeah, these ones don't. And there's a handful of Tu-160 bombers. Those go down in 3 hits, and they do not shoot at you. I think the best way to go about this is to look at it as a tutorial, not as a first mission. The passiveness of the enemies and the general lack of variety of enemies that the player is facing makes it a all-around, I'd say, good tutorial level for just learning how to play Ace Combat 7 without overwhelming the player. So as a result, I'll be giving types of enemies a score of 3 out of 5. So let's go into objectives and failure conditions. I'll save degree of BS for last. Easiest way to describe this is what the player has to do during a mission and how easily can they fail the mission or set objectives. The best way to describe what would give a high score in this category versus what would not is how fair are the objectives and how fun are they to carry out, as well as how fair is the failure condition of the player. Charge Assault's pretty simple. You get a trickle of bombers, they come in, you're taking down one group of targets at a time. First bomber's got no escorts, free kill. Second bomber's got an escort, doesn't really engage the player, take out the bomber, your wingman will take care of the rest. The third bomber group will not move regardless of what happens. You can shoot one down, the others will keep flying straight. You can just fly in front of them. I did not get shot by the MiGs that were escorting the Tu-95s. This entire group is quite literally just a multi-lock-on missile tutorial. From the fourth bomber and its escort onwards, things ramp up as much as they can for a tutorial mission. You will see the fighters breaking off to attempt to engage you, albeit they are pretty casual about trying to shoot you down. There are a total of 3 ways to fail this mission. ignoring the last group of bombers and letting them fly around for a long amount of time is not one of them. Actually, running out of time is possible to do. You just gotta really be patient. Crashing your plane is absolutely one, and getting shot down, albeit unlikely, is a possibility as well. If we count it as a tutorial, I'd say the objectives for the most part fulfill what they need to do. Therefore, a 3 out of 5 seems like the best score to give objectives and failure conditions. Which brings us to the last category. That category is degree of BS. And this category can basically be summarized as any unique restrictions or, let's just say, factors that occur within a mission that do nothing to enhance the mission. And Charge Assault gets a 0 in this category. All in all, it's just a really simple tutorial mission. To total everything up, Charge Assault's receiving a 4 for its soundtrack, a 3 for its mission length, a 3 for its types of enemies, a 3 for its objectives and failure conditions, and a 0 for degree of BS. In addition, it's also not receiving any bonus points because it doesn't do anything that really stands out that much as a level, thus making the total score for Charge Assault 13 out of 20.